The ayes to the right, 311. The noes to the left, 293.
The government defeated by 18. Look at them, said a Labour MP.
Look at them! Look at them!
Thank you. She was looking at the faces of a government for the first time in history in contempt of Parliament. Individual MPs, like Charles Bradlaugh in 1881, have very rarely been found in contempt, then arrested and detained. But with a government in contempt, it was mooted a minister could face sanction. In the end, defeat made the government fold. It would, after all, publish the legal opinion it had refused to share.
And in light of the expressed will of the House, we will publish the final and full advice provided by the Attorney-General to Cabinet.
MPs called out when? Chief Whip leant over to Andrea Leadsom, and then came the answer.
The Government will respond tomorrow, Mr Speaker.
The Prime Minister had long since left number 10 for Parliament to start the 5-day debate to sell her deal. But her appearance was delayed even more as MPs debated an amendment, meaning if Theresa May's Brexit deal falls next week, MPs could instruct her on what to do next.
We could arrive on the 21st of January with a statement that no deal can be reached, and it could be that at that time there is across this House somewhere a majority in favour of some solution which would avoid us leaving without a deal. And for those of us who believe that leaving without a deal would be a catastrophe for our country, it seems right that we should at least have the chance to crystallise and express that majority should it arise.
Just behind the Speaker's chair, the cameras caught the Prime Minister on her way to the voting lobby. The government was overwhelmed by an even bigger defeat this time on what could be a hugely important vote.
The ayes to the right, 321. The noes to the left, 299.
Please note that the defeat on the amendment that lets MPs choose Plan B if the government deal falls might just scare some Brexiteers back into the ranks.
Gary Gibbon joins us now from Westminster. Gary, what a day. Tell us what, in the end, is the most significant thing that's happened.
So many crashes and bangs. What was the one with real importance? I think the melodramatic opening to the day, the proceedings on contempt, probably will remain a colourful episode in the history books, but not a chapter to itself. It seems to me that looking at what happened in there today, the Dominic Grieve Amendment, the one we were talking about in that piece, which is the one that if the government's main deal falls and they come back with a plan, with a statement to the House of Commons, that's the amendment that allows MPs to get together and impose their own Plan B on the government. That seems to me the most important event of the day amongst some pretty strong challengers. And it was
Gary, for the moment, thank you very much indeed from Westminster. You've got the DUP who have now voted either against you or not voted at all in the finance debate. You've got them in 3 different votes in which they have failed to vote with you on critical matters, so you don't have a majority any longer in the House. And you've also got some of your own members who are actually supporting this motion today. An extraordinary situation in which Sinn Féin, never the best of friends to the government, is supporting you, and the DUP, who are actually in alliance with you, are voting against you. Dominic Grieve, whose amendment was approved this afternoon, giving MPs a say on what happens next if Parliament votes down the Prime Minister's deal. My deal, Dominic Grieve, Mrs May talking, my deal, no deal, or remain. Have you knocked no deal out?
What we've tried to do is to ensure that Parliament has an opportunity of expressing its view if the government's deal is rejected. And the previous arrangement, which provided for motions in neutral terms which were unamendable, was unacceptable to a large number of Conservative MPs and many others. And we've succeeded by this means in ensuring that we will get that debate. Obviously, it doesn't guarantee what the outcome will be, and I'm not seeking to guarantee a particular outcome. This is a process issue which was very important, and I wanted to make sure that we established now, particularly in view of the volatility of the situation, that we could have those informed debates if the government motion is defeated.
But what no one has established is whether Europe would continue a discussion after such a vote.
I'm quite confident that Europe will allow us the time to consider the options. That is the key issue. The key issue is whether we wish to potentially go back and speak to our European partners further. That may, in fact, be very difficult. I'm the first to acknowledge it. Do we want to try to find an alternative way forward? Do we wish to go back to the public and ask them if this is really what they want? All those are provided for by this amendment in procedural terms. It's then a matter for the House what it makes of it.
Now, you're a lawyer. Do we ignore the fact that the government has been found in contempt of Parliament?
The government has accepted Parliament's motion after being defeated again today and is going to supply the necessary documents. I don't think we need to take the matter much further than that.
Such that they have considerably weakened Mrs May?
I have no desire to see Mrs May weakened.
I'm not asking that, I'm asking has it?
I'm not sure, actually, that it can be said that the Prime Minister has been weakened by today's events. If she wanted to draw upon what's happened today, she could strengthen her position. Ultimately, we need leadership to get us through what is a major and, I'm afraid, deepening political crisis. And I would like to see her provide that leadership.
Dominic Grieve, I know you've got to walk off and vote, so I must let you go. Thank you very much indeed for talking with us. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, for this state of anxiety lies solely with this government. 2 years of botched negotiations have led us here today. Members of this House have a very important decision 1 week today. To vote for this deal would be to damage our economy, to make our constituents poorer, and to take a leap in the dark with the future of this country.
Well, what does all this mean for all the days ahead? Over to our political editor, Gary Gibbon. Gary?
3 defeats in a day. I think you probably have to go back to 1978 to find a government that endured something like this. The omens are still very much that the Prime Minister is going to lose the vote on the deal a week today and could still lose it quite badly. She could at that point try to hang on, go back to the European Union and try and get something from them, but there's very little chance that it's more than sugar-coating most people around the Prime Minister say. I talked to Nigel Dodds, the leader of the DUP, in Westminster a second ago, and he said he absolutely wouldn't rule out the government pulling the vote on Tuesday, actually not going ahead with it at all, so as not to have yet another, a 4th defeat in a week.
Well, Mrs May offered us 10 days ago, a fortnight ago, it's either my deal, no deal, or we remain. So where are we on those?
That happened in the Luxembourg court today, allowing the government here to revoke Article 50 on its own unilaterally. Maybe that gives them a bit of hope. Very hard to see how that happens with Theresa May or whoever might succeed her.